In a city that never really sleeps, there's a tiny apartment whose lights stay on far too long. Inside, a former office worker is gambling, not at a casino, but with her future, with her dream, with the version of herself she said she wanted to become. Her name is Ha-eun, and tonight, the thin line between wanting a dream and fighting for it starts to show. It's early morning. Ha-eun's apartment looks more like a temporary studio than a place to live. She sits hunched in front of her screen, drawing webtoon panels one by one. Her eyes are red, her oversized hoodie wrinkled, her hair messy in a way you don't get from just one late night. A notification slides in. Final reminder. Pitch meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. She clicks later. In the background, the TV shows her former colleague, Kang Min-ji, now introduced as one of the brightest young creators of the year. For a few seconds, the only thing louder than the TV is her own thoughts. If she can do it, why am I still here eating cold ramen? A few hours later, Ha-eun half runs down the street, hugging a thick folder and a bag that keeps slipping off her shoulder. Inside her head, panic spins in circles. Then she sees it. A tall building with the logo of a major webtoon platform gleaming above the entrance. Somewhere inside that building, her new life is waiting, or about to crash before it even begins. The meeting room is small, tidy, and cooled just a bit too much. At the table, a man already sits waiting. Neat shirt, calm expression, tablet in front of him. This is Joon, an editor. Ha-eun slips in, slightly out of breath. Some pages slide from her folder and flutter to the floor. He watches, unreadable. Sit, he says simply. He flips through a few pages, then sets the manuscript down. Your story, he says, calm but sharp, doesn't know what it wants to be. Ha-eun tries to catch up. I can revise it. If I have a bit more time. You can, he cuts in. You have 24 hours. The words hit like a slap. If you can't bring me a solid version in 24 hours, we cancel the pitch, he says, matter of fact. You're the one who said you were serious. And just like that, the meeting is over. Downstairs, in a cafe, Ha-eun sits in the corner, cupping a latte that's already gone lukewarm. Her phone buzzes with a video call from her best friend. He said my story doesn't even know what it is, Ha-eun says. Maybe I really don't have talent. Maybe quitting my office job was the dumbest decision I've ever made. Her friend's voice softens. You quit because you hated being a soulless office drone. You're the one who said, just once, I want to live as myself. So what now? One harsh editor shows up and you run back to the cubicle. The call ends. Maybe Ha-eun thinks this isn't just about the editor at all. Maybe it's about how scared she is of failing at the one thing she chose for herself. In the hallway upstairs, Joon appears at the end of the corridor. Heading home? He asks. Yeah, she says. I'll revise at home. No, he replies. Tomorrow at 10, you pitch in front of the board. Tonight, you work here. We'll prepare an outline and mock-ups for 3 chapters. 3 chapters? Tonight. He's already walking past her when he adds, if you're not willing to pull an all-nighter for your own story, why should anyone else believe in it? She stands in the hallway, alone again. Run home, or stay and fight. There's no real middle ground. In the restroom, under harsh fluorescent light, Ha-eun stands in front of the mirror. She sees someone tired, someone messy, someone who once printed her resignation letter with shaking hands, swearing she would try, really try, to live differently. If I fail, she tells her reflection quietly, then at least this time I'll fail after giving it everything. She turns, squares her shoulders, and walks out. This time, her steps sound a little more like a decision. The office is mostly dark now. Only one small island of light remains. The desks where Joon and Ha-eun are sitting. Let's start here, Joon says, leaning forward. What's the most painful thing your main character has gone through? Ha-eun thinks for a moment. She quit her office job. And after that, she has no idea where to go. That's the event, he says. I'm asking about the pain. She hesitates, then admits, shame, maybe. She's afraid people will call her stupid. Afraid she's just being dramatic. Afraid they'll say, "See? You couldn't make it out there." Joon nods slightly. Good. That's your starting point. Write her from that place. Hours start to blur as they argue about structure, motivations, and tone. Sometimes the tension is sharp. Sometimes it's almost funny. Somewhere between the harsh criticism and late-night jokes, something begins to shift. The pages are changing. And so is the space between them. As the night gets deeper, friction rises again. I want her to just be normal, Ha-eun insists. Not super pretty, not super smart, not super special. Just an ordinary girl. The problem, Joon replies, is that no one falls in love with a character described as just normal. Now it doesn't feel like he's talking about some fictional person. Feels like he's talking about her. It's past midnight now. Joon flips through a few newly drawn pages and then looks up at her. This is you, isn't it? He asks. Ha-eun freezes. Who do you think you are? She snaps. You don't know anything about me. I don't care about you, he replies, voice steady. I care about the character on the page. And right now, she only reads as confused. That's the line that finally cracks something inside. Ha-eun stands up and starts packing her things with trembling hands. If all you're going to do is tear me down, I might as well go home, she says. This time she actually walks away. The rooftop is quiet and cold, lit by scattered city lights below. Ha-eun stands near the railing, arms crossed, doing her best to keep her emotions from spilling over. The door creaks open behind her. Joon steps out, holding 2 cans from the vending machine. Without a word, he sets one down beside her. I'm not thirsty, she mutters. It's not for thirst, he says. Sometimes your hands need something to hold. So they stop shaking. They stand there in silence for a while. Your script is messy, he finally says. But the idea is good. If I didn't see potential, I wouldn't be wasting my night here. For the first time, it sounds less like an attack, more like reluctant respect. That night, under the rooftop sky and the weight of the city's lights, they make a quiet, unspoken agreement. They're going back downstairs. Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as an editor and a writer who both haven't fully made peace with their own pasts. As dawn creeps closer, the air in the office feels heavier. Ha-eun redraws panels with a new intensity. Her phone buzzes. A message from her landlord. If you're late with rent again this month, we'll need to review your contract. If this pitch fails, she might not just lose a job opportunity. She might lose her home. Across from her, Joon's phone rings. It's his boss. The voice is clear. The pitch slot tomorrow is between 2 writers. The newbie you're bringing in, and Kang Min-ji. You know which is the safer business choice. The stakes have just gone up for both of them. The hours before dawn melt into a blur of effort. They cut what doesn't matter. They sharpen what does. They lean into what's honest, the shame, the fear, and the small flickers of courage. At last, a new version of the draft is ready. Ha-eun moves the cursor to the save button. The screen freezes. No, not now, she whispers. The program crashes. The hours they just poured into it vanish with it. Of course, she says quietly. Of course it happens now. Tears gather again. Every time I try, something goes wrong, she chokes out. At my old job, in my life, and now here. For the first time that night, she doesn't sound like a fighter or a dreamer. She just sounds tired. The sky is beginning to pale when they find themselves back on the rooftop. Ha-eun sits on the ground, back against the wall, eyes swollen from crying. Joon sits beside her, leaving a respectful distance. Slowly, he starts talking about something he hasn't mentioned before. He tells her about a big project he once led. How overconfident he was. How badly it failed. How he almost got fired because of it. When you cried earlier, he admits, I saw a version of myself from a few years ago. And then he says the line that shifts everything. If you quit now, your story ends here. But if we go back downstairs, open a new file, and rewrite whatever we can, that becomes episode 1 of your new life. She looks at the sky, slowly tinting orange. She takes a long, shaky breath. Okay, she says. One more episode. For the me who used to hide in the office restroom to write on her phone. For the first time, he lets a hint of a smile slip through. Good, he says. Let's write about her. About you. And for the second time that night, they head back downstairs. Later that morning, in a formal boardroom lined with serious faces, Ha-eun stands before a screen, presenting a story built from her fear, her shame, and her decision to try anyway. Her main character is not a hero, not a genius, not a flawless inspiration. She's just someone brave enough to admit her life isn't okay, and stubborn enough to use that as a starting point. After the pitch, Ha-eun steps out into the hallway. Down near the vending machine, Joon is waiting with 2 more cans of coffee. For the presentation, he says, don't let it go to your head. She laughs quietly. So, what did you think? As an editor, he says, there's still a lot that needs fixing. He pauses. But as a first-time writer pitching in front of the board, it wasn't bad. She looks at him, surprised, then smiles, soft, genuine. Thank you, Editor Nim, she says. In this quiet moment with humming machines and empty hallways, something between them shifts. They're still awkward, still far from friends, but they're no longer just a cold editor and a writer ready to quit. That night, back in the same tiny apartment, Ha-eun sits in front of her laptop again. An email pops up, regarding your pitch meeting, from Content Team. Her finger hovers over the trackpad. Whatever the email says, one thing is already different. For the first time, she knows she really fought for her story. Somewhere else, in a quiet office, Joon stands in front of his boss's desk. The boss holds a printed copy of the pitch materials. We need to talk about the presentation this morning, the boss says, and about you. The episode ends not with a clear victory, but with something more important. New questions, new stakes, and a reason to come back for the next episode.